Kaymakli underground city, which is about approximately 65 kilometers far from here. In about 45 minutes we are going to be there. So initially I want to inform you before you get asleep on the way about the underground city. Then you will have time to have a nap. When we get close, I can wake you up and we can explore the underground city. When there had been another guide guiding you instead of me, or if you'll read on the internet about those places, you will be informed as those kind of places are the ones where people used to hide themselves or live. And that's why it was called underground city. But I personally do not believe that it was used for hiding, neither for living. There are a few reasons. First of all, there is no scientific proof, evidence, nothing to claim that it was used for hiding or living. Second reason, there are many air ventilation tunnels, shafts. So when people assume, let's assume, hide there, the enemies could easily convey smoke from the holes and then force them to come out. It's a trick used by the hunter. So hiding underground is not a proper idea. On the other hand, the humidity in those subterranean places are over 98%. The oxygen rate is low. So, and there are many wine cellars, which is used to store wine. So when there is wine, that means there are gas explosions which may harm you when you sleep next month. So that's not a proper place to live. And those are the reasons I personally do not believe it was used for hiding or living. But according to historical documents and events, we know that the landlords of Cappadocia were mainly involved in wine business. And millions of tons of wine was stored, even today as well, and in the past as well. So those places are mainly, there are many proof about that, was used as a wine cellar. Of course, not only for wine, so it's not very much individuals, more commercially by the feudal landlords, who were wealthy people actually for trading. They were doing this. So grain and other type of food was stored there, but there are also some seclusion rooms, like the ones I pointed to you, used by the Christian monks there as well. So when these places until 1960s were not very much known. Only the first floors of the underground places were known by the local people and used as a stable where they kept their animals. But the rest were discarded after 1965, and because of the size of them, people thought it's a hiding place or a city. So people, the officials or many guides still believe in this, but I personally do not believe in this one, since there is nothing proved, scientific proof. I mean, that's my personal assumption I want to share with you. After 1965, the rest of the place was discovered as a widest part, because there are many tunnels going to different directions. It's not an organized place. One tunnel is short, the other one is long, different one. Şeyi açalım abi, havalandırmayı sana zaten tamamen. Klimayı da açalım. So one tunnel, as a longest part, it is about 2 kilometers wide, and as a depth 45 meters deep. But today only 10% of the whole place is kept open for visitors. So the visitors wouldn't get lost, only a certain route is kept open. The rest is locked actually, so it's closed. So when we get there on a picture illustration, I'm going to give you brief information. In some places I will inform you what it was used for. In some places you will have some free time to get into the caves, take some pictures, but in the rest of the time I want you to follow me, because there are many places you can get easily confused, lost there, so we can get down to the deepest point and then come back. Okay? Any question? Okay, so. Makeup time? This way, guys. Here, guys, here you can see a pictorial illustration of the underground city. Normally, it is about 8 floors deep, 45 meters deep. As I told you, only a particular part, 10% is kept open. There are many entrance passages where the villagers were using the first floor as a stable where they kept their animals in them. There are some round millstones used as a door to lock the passages. The rest part was discovered later. So when we get in, I'm going to explain you what it was used for. But the important thing is, are the air ventilation shafts. Starting from the top, goes to the deepest point. Since there is no record, nothing actually, I personally assume that before they start to dig out those places, they must have drilled those holes all the way to the deepest point until they reach the water layer in every underground city. Then when they expanded, they must have taken the stones from those air ventilation tunnels much easier by using a hand winch. That's, I mean, for a long time people have been using it because the passages we are walking down are too narrow to transport them. But the air ventilation shaft is a much direct way and much easier way. There are even holes on the side. They could easily climb up to different floors from that. Considering that it is used as a storage, wine storage, winery, so the wine grape was even transported from those much easier, up and down. Pass, please. They were tidying the animals. Here you can see another one. In stables, they were using those holes to feed the animals, and they were tidying them here. Here you can see another one used for sheep, for example, lamb, and behind there is another one. You see? So this is a stable used by the local people, which is an easy access. But the interesting thing here, which is original, are those holes. Look at these holes. These are the ones where they set the clay jars, terracotta pots, earthenware pots, so that it doesn't fall. They carve a hole and then set them in and use to store wine. These are wine cellars, or vinegar, or grain. So even today, the local people are storing the food in those kind of clay jars, which is made in Cappadocia. And so that it doesn't leak or fall down, they carve a hole and set them in here. Later I'm going to show you some remaining part of that too. Giriş bölgeleri gördüğünüz gibi ahır. Bunlar yemlik. Hayvanların bağlandığı. Burası da küplerin yerleştirilip şarapların depolandığı şarap mahzeni. Daha sonra parçalarını göstereceğim. So now we are going to follow the red arrows to go to the deepest point, and by following blue we will come. Please follow me.
É pra saber se tem perigo, se tiver que morrer, eu morro antes. Até hoje.
Okay. So dear guests, I don't know if you noticed, on the way we walked down, you might have seen some rooms where there are some holes like this one. Did you notice them?
Yeah.
You will see more later. So these are the ones where wine, remember I told you, was stored in. When they had stored wine here, they may break down or leak down. Wine needs to be stored in a long term, up to 5 years time, in a constant temperature, so that it can be kept here for a long term. They carve some holes into the wall so that they could keep it more constant as a temperature, you know, avoid the temperature changing in the airflow here, and store them here. This one, that one, over there you can see more, and you will see more of them. These are wine cellars. So when you see a hole carved into the wall, then it is a wine cellar. The ones which is more in the ground, like this one, is more for grain, other type of food. But not for wine. Wine is more in the wall. Please follow me. Let's head to the next place, this way. Does everybody feel fine? No claustrophobic, right? Let's continue. You see there is no other group except us, so you can comfortably visit this place. Yes, remember I told you that the confession chapels used for confession were more in remote places, not in the public or in villages, remote places. This is an underground place. I don't think anybody will come here for wedding ceremonies, but if you want to be isolated from the society, alone and secluded, that is an ideal place. This is a confession chapels. There is no way to understand when it is made. The only way to understand is the architectural details and the arch designs here. And this one here is telling us that this place is dating back to 10th century. Remember I told you, majority of the places are dating back 10th century. So since it is a confession chapel, they use candles for this. During this ceremony, there are some traces of the candles you can see here. And remember I told you they use oil lamps for lighting. There are some holes on the ground here, on the wall, which they set the oil lamps for lighting. This is a typical confession chapels used by individuals. Okay, so let's continue this way. Buradan devam edelim. This way, please.
Ich glaube, den Gelben konnten die so ein bisschen andeuten.
Onlar un yapmak için daha çok bulgur için kullanılır. Yani buğdayı kırmak için kullanılır. Biliyorsunuz bulgur en temel gıda maddesi. Onun dışında görüyorsunuz aynı şekilde aşağı yukarı. Burada bir 3-5 dakika serbest zamanımız olacak. Devam etmeyeceğiz. Serbestçe fotoğraf çekin, ondan sonra devam edeceğiz. Yok, hepsi bir arada. Korkmayın, istediğiniz gibi girebilirsiniz. You or your okay, your boyfriend turn back. So, dear guests, this is a wider part. So in this place, when you look into the rooms like this one and that one, you can see similar type of holes carved into the wall like the ones we have seen before. So they are typical wine cellars where wine was stored in them. The difference here is this one. Look at that one. This is a hand grinder. So by putting a stick here in the middle and putting the grain, they were cracking wheat. This is not to make flour, it is to make cracked wheat. The one you had in the lunch, remember? Rice was not consumed traditionally. It was cracked wheat traditionally, which is much more nutritious. So in every family were preparing, even today, their cracked wheat for the winter season. So that's a kind of hand grinder. So when it is cold outside, for example, that's much more comfortable. People were preparing their food here, but not to live, temporarily use them to prepare their food or store their food here. The other things are very much similar to the others, are wine cellars. So that's the first place you can feel free to get into the caves, take some pictures, just a few minutes. After that, we will proceed down to the next place. You see, there is no other group except us, so we can comfortably visit the whole place. So dear guests, may I have attention here, please? So as we have seen, the passages are very narrow. So from the passages, we can assume that those people who must have lived here must be short and skinny, right? From the skeletons which was found in Cappadocia, it was estimated the average height of women here was about 1 meter 40, men 1 meter 60, and their lifespan was about 45. So a person at the age of 45 was considered to be old. So today we are much taller and living also much longer. Here you can see a pool-like place, which is a typical winery. This is a place where the grapes in bags with their food squeeze, which we still do the same thing too. And then there is a hole which leaks it down and then collected stored in those places, processed as wine. So this is a winery, and these are wine cellars, very much like the ones we have seen. Could you please follow me? Okay, look at this round stone. This stone was carved from here. This is a millstone. And it was lying in the ground, so they were moving it in order to lock this lid. From the other side, you cannot move it, only from this side. So that was a kind of door to use to lock, to block the way. Why? Because of these doors, people thought it's a hiding place, because it's a kind of way. But remember, I told you there are many air ventilation tunnels or holes, so the enemies could easily convey smoke and force to come out. But I personally believe that it was these ones are used to secure those places, because there are many holes, and they somehow have to keep them secure, the wine, whatever stored here, and these doors are used for this purposes here. So there are, in every passage, there is a round millstone doors used as a door to lock the way. And I told you that they used the terracotta jars, you remember? The jars to store. Here in this room, you can see the remaining part of it. So from this distance, you can see at the corner, there are some jars. You can see the remains of those ceramics used to store wine, the liquid in them. So there were many pots made in Cappadocia. They brought here and then stored wine. But the passages, you see the one we came down, is too narrow to transport them. You remember? So the air ventilation shaft, remember, must be used as an elevator, which is much wider. On this tunnel, soon I'm going to show you the air ventilation tunnel, so you will understand how it was used. Okay, shall we continue? This way, oh sorry, that's my place. If you come close, you can see that the holes here are very much similar to the ones we have seen before. They are where wine in jars was stored. These are wine cellars, and the kind of winery here. And in this tunnel here, on the left side, soon you are going to see the air ventilation tunnel. Remember? There are 40 of them here, and these are the ones used to as an elevator to transport them up and down, because this is not easy to transport, but the air ventilation tunnel is a direct tunnel, much shorter way and much easier to transport. So when you reach there, please stop, look down. It is 45 meters deep. How you can see how deep it is. You can take pictures and then proceed, let the others see them. Then we're going to reach to the final floor. Okay, let's go. Toplamı 8 kat, diğer 4 katına inen tünel burası. Ama oldukça saf ve dar bir tünel. Dolayısıyla insanlar kaybolmasın diye bundan sonrasında kalmamışlar. Burası son. Şimdi etrafa baktığınızda, bakın bir tane told you it is normally 8 floors. This is the passage, goes down to the rest of the 4th floor, but it is very slow and very narrow. That's why it is locked. So that's the final floor. We will not get down anymore. After that, we will head out. If you look around, you can see that there is another winery here. Look at this one, where the grapes are squeezed. And then additional pool where it was leaked, collected it. And these are the ones, they set the clay jars and store wine, processed for wine. That means this is a winery, and these are wine cellars again. On the right side, you can see another winery there too. So far, what we have seen is wineries, wine cellars, storages. Not very much where people had lived. Let's assume people had lived here. When people had lived here, then somehow there has to be some graffiti, some paintings. Am I right? Even when humans live in a place for a few days, they put a kind of graffiti, a design, something on it, even in very primitive caves. Have you seen anything so far?
No.
Even this is a proof that this place was not used to live or hide, more for commercial purposes. Except the pickaxe traces used to carve, there is no other trace. Except one thing, this one. This is a cross. Can you see the cross figure here?
Yeah.
This cross today is known as Maltese cross because of the Maltese Crusaders, which start to use this cross on their uniform after 13th century, after 1200s. But much before that, at 10th century, in Cappadocian churches, we can see this kind of cross. And this cross is a proof that this place is dating back to 10th century. But so, question, why it is here? What does it mean? It's here to help the people to find the other chapel. That means down there, there's another confession chapels, and to help them to navigate, they carve a cross figure here. So, do you think people will get down for wedding ceremonies here? Of course not. But if you want to be alone, isolated from the society, and worship in a seclusion room or confession, then you get down. So it's a totally isolated place from the society, which is used for confession here. So now we are going to head to a wider part through those stairs. When we get there, I'm going to give you brief information. Then you will have 10-minute time to get into the caves, take pictures, explore yourself. After that, we will head out. Okay? Shall we? Okay, is everybody here? Oh. So dear guests, if you look around here, you can see some marks, such as this one, claiming that this is a kitchen. You see? Kitchen. Why? Because of this black smoke on the ceiling, the officials who discovered this place called this place as a kitchen. They claim that this place is the one they cook their meal, set fire here. Do you think I believe in this? No. It's a stupid idea to believe that to set fire here because the smoke will kill you, you know. But then this actually has to be answered why it is black here. So I've been to many of those kitchens which is permanently used as a kitchen, has a chimney. Even in those places, the smoke on the ceiling is much thicker than this. This is very thin. It's not thick enough. So when it had been used permanently as a kitchen, then it has to be much thicker, not thin like this one here. And then there has to be a chimney. There is no chimney here. So then, why it is black here? When I look around, I can see some holes like this one. They were tidying the animals and then feeding them. Here, this is another feeding place, another hole here. Behind you, there is another one, you see? That's a feeding place. They were tidying the animals. So remember the first floor we've been. So there were some feeding places which was used as a stable. So that means this place was used as a stable. We are right now very close to the ground. A friend of mine who was from this village told me that in one of those rooms here on the way, they find a horse skeleton. So there must be a wider passage. They could bring the animals down here and use this place as a stable. So does it to do with the smoke? Yes, because when it is used as a stable, that means they had hay here, right, to feed the animals. And remember I told you, they used oil lamps, fire for lighting. Fire, hay. So it may have been a kind of accidental fire caused this black smoke. It's not because it is used as a kitchen, it's an accidental fire actually caused the smoke here. So in many of those places here, that might be the answer. Here you can see a round stone, which is used here as a door. But the stone here is different than this. We have seen so far stones which is carved from the rock. This is volcanic ash, but this is lava stone, and there is no lava layer here. So it must have been brought somewhere else down here. So, but it is very wide and big, heavy. So the passages must be big enough to bring it down. Even this is a proof that there's a big passage they could bring the animals So that's my exploration. Guys, there are some channels in here. You can get down and explore. For example, here, there are stairs. You can walk down, get into this tunnel. On the left side, there's another tunnel. You can walk all the way and then come back again. So let's have some 10-minute free time. Is that okay for you? So until 3:50. You can feel free to look around, take some pictures. I'm going to wait here for you. And then when everybody is there, at 3:50, I will guide you out, okay? So you can feel free to exploit yourself. They used to crack the door, squeeze them, or grind them into floor or something. We need some more time here. Hadi kenarda. Hadi çıkalım o zaman. This way, guys. So, here, look. Do you think this is a sleeping place or a bedroom? No, storage. It's more storage, typical storages. Here, wine storages. These more for grain or other type of foods.
No, detto che è storage. È per immagazzinare la roba.
Ah, sì, capito bene.
No, ha detto ti servono anche una...
Was Cappadocia party area? So much wine stores.
Yeah, exactly.
The people were in this business. The landlords, remember, who were wealthy families, they were providing most of the wine in whole Roman Empire. So we are talking about millions of liters of wine, which was consumed in Roman Empire, but mainly stored in Cappadocia. Okay. For Istanbul, other places here, and then transported, exported from here. So, shall we continue? This way. Slowly, be sure that everybody is moving there.
And they have different architectural plans. According to the first architectural plan, they established